Hey, welcome everyone. This is Mike from ZoZoStockWatch.com, and let's get ready for the week ahead, and let's keep an eye on what we should watch for the week of May 20th through the 24th. So I'm showing you a chart of a 15-minute chart of the SPY. This is what the week we gapped down on Monday. We had that 700, 600 point drop on Monday, and then the bulls fought us back from that 2800 level on the SPY, took us back up to about that 289 area, and then we kind of drifted off to about the middle of the range. And Friday we popped up, and then Friday into the close, we faded off again on Friday that just passed. The FANG names took a little bit of a hit on Friday. This is the heat map courtesy of FinViz. You had your banking stocks moving down. Google was down over 1.33%. Amazon taking a 2% hit. No bottom yet for INTC. Intel over in the semiconductor space. So we'll talk more about the semiconductors on this video in a little bit. Oils were getting hit. The dollar was moving up this past week and on Friday. Boeing moved up a tad, up a third of a percent. J&J was up a little bit, but as you can see, a lot of red on the screen for the Friday heat map here. Verizon and AT&T both got some buying on Friday. Flight to safety there. Cisco had earnings on Thursday. They were up 0.75% on Friday for Cisco, and Pepsi was up a little bit. Coke was down a little bit. Home Depot has earnings coming up this week. They were up fractionally for the day on Friday. Comcast very strong in the media space. CMCSA was up almost 1%. Disney down fractionally. FOXA, FOXA was up almost was up 1.5% for the day on Friday. So the trade war volatility picked up this week and brought more volatility into the markets, as I showed you on that first chart of the SPY. The week started out lower, ended up soft on Friday. And then here on the chart that I'm showing you for the SPY, we're above the 200 SMA currently on the SPY, below the 10 SMA and below the 50 SMA, the dark blue line you see here right now, also below the 5 EMA for the SPY. So here was the action on Friday. So they popped us up and then they sold us off into the close. So we're still holding above that 280 level on the SPY. We're hanging around the 50 SMA for the SPY. The Qs, we'll just take a quick look at that. Pretty much the same thing, hanging around the 50 SMA on the Qs. The IWM, if you're watching this one, we had back in Monday on the 6th, right? All our hopes were up. The IWM was pushing up, starting to look really nice on the daily chart. Then we started to get negative trade talks coming out, and the IWM right back down. And now we're below the 50 SMA and back below that 155. Everybody kind of watching this 100 SMA on the SPY and also that 150 area for the IWM here. We'll go ahead and look at some of our sectors from the action last week and Friday. The Dow Jones was down 99 points Friday. The industrials, then they had the transports, the Dow Jones 20 down 113 points, the SPX, the SPY down 17, and the NASDAQ down 82 points for Friday. If we go ahead and look at some of the sectors for the week, to the upside, you had JNUG moving up a little bit. All right, but the JNUG gold charts still look a little bit ugly here, but a little bit of a pop into JNUG up for the week, about 2.65%. Oil climbing this week a little bit, still below that $65 a barrel level here, but holding above the 50 SMA, holding above the 5 and the 20 on oil. Oil was up 2%. USO, the ETF for oil, was up 1.87%. The REITs got a little buying on Friday and for the week. So the REITs up 1.27%. TLT, as the TLT moves up, bond yields move down. So TLT coming back up to that 126.75 area on the TLT. Once again, as the TLT moves up, bond yields moves down. UUP, the dollar, showing some strength last week, keeping gold and silver in check. As you can see, not much action in gold and silver. Nothing really going on there. Silver making new lows for the week on Friday on silver. To the downside, we had the China Internet ETF down for the week, up 5% on that. SMH got hit almost 4.5, over 4.5%. Robo got hit 4%. That's the automation index. ROBO, down almost 4%. Social took a 3% cut. OIH, the oil services sector, Schlumberger, Halliburton, Rig, still continues to show weakness here, even with oil moving up a little bit. That sector was down over 3% for the week. If we go ahead and look at the VIX on the weekly chart, now we have been talking about the VIX. We had a 20 handle, and then quickly complacency came back into the market. So they popped us up and up to the 20 spot, over 20 spot, and now we're right back down with about a 15 handle. What's normal for the VIX? Around a 15 to 18 handle is about normal. We have been sitting around 10, 12. Then we popped up to about 20 and change. The high was 23. So we'll really get nervous if we start breaking above 25 on the VIX, which could happen. All right. Not saying that it can't, but right now we're back down with about a 15, 16 handle, back into the normal range for the VIX. So we'll see what kind of news headlines we have coming out on the trade talks for next week coming up. So as you can see on the SPY, we're on the weekly chart here. We're still below the 10 SMA. We are holding above the 20 SMA on the weekly chart. Back to the daily chart for the SPY. So we're right back into the middle of the range on the SPY, basically range-bound action right now. IWM remains worrisome, as we talked about. So I would say for next week, remain nimble. Market feels vulnerable. Less is more for swing traders, all right? So I would say do not put on too many positions as a swing trader right now because we're driven by headlines right now and tweet risks, right? Any tweet that is put out can move the markets right now. There's really no advantage right now for bulls or bears at this moment, all right? If I was leaning, I would say a little bit more towards the bear side because of the volatility, because of the seasonality. But right now, really no advantage because any one headline can move the markets right now, or any one tweet. As far as sector performance, let's go ahead and take a look at what was up for the upside. We had the real estate sector up 1.47%, flight to safety here. And once again, as bond yields moves down, utilities move up. So that was up 1.41%. To the downside, the metals and the mining ETF were down 4% for the week. The airline index down almost 4% for the week. The XRT, the retail sector down 3.35%, even with Walmart's good earnings. The bank sector was down 2% for the week. The banking sector, the XLF, as you can see, it never could get up over that 28 spot and hold above it. So we're kind of fading off here on the XLF. And once again, as bond yields moves down, that affects the banks also. So that's some of your sector performance. Best and worst stocks. We'll start out with best stock. We go out with Beyond, BYND, up almost 35%. This GRVY moving up very strong, up 29% for the week. MGTX was up this week, over 28% for the week on MGTX. I think I have news on that one, MGTX. They had a phase 1, 2, and it met their primary endpoints for MGTX. Our larger stocks, we had ZG moving up 12% this week. MRTX was up 10% this week on MRTX. They presented at ASCO So they had a very good week on that presentation at the ASCO conference, was up 10%. AXSM climbing 9%. We also had a Pump. They were upgraded this week. PUMP, maybe one to keep your eye on in the oil sector. Pump up 8% for the week. Under Armour got an upgrade on Friday. This stock up 8% for the week. TTD over in the software application space, this stock was up 8% for the week. Zscaler in the software space up 7% for the week on that name. Over in the lower price stocks for the week that passed, this OTLK was very strong this week, up 75% on OTLK. VTGN climbing 38% for the week on that name. ADVM was up 37% for the week on ADVM. A very strong move there on that one. We also had IOVA climbing 36% for the week. Let's see, this one was up also on the ASCO conference, a presentation that they gave on their phase 2 for IOVA. So a very strong move on that name. We also had NOVN, a smaller stock. This stock coming up off the bottom here was up 33 1/3%. LIQT moving up 30% this week. CTXR also was up 27% for the week. OCX having a very good week, up 24%. SESN, this stock climbing 24% on ZYNE. This stock moving up very strong for the week, up 21% on that name. ATHX climbing this week 19%. They got fast track designation from the FDA on ATHX. So a good week for them. Let's go ahead and look at some of the worst stocks for the week that passed. We'll start out with China name Baidu. Got hit this week down after their earnings came out, down 18%. SWKS dropping 14% for the week. Deere came out with earnings on Friday. This stock dropping 14% for the week. Over in the ag space, having a tough go. Tesla was getting hit this week further. Comments from Elon Musk that they're going to have to be tightening up the spending. A lot of negative. There was a car on autopilot that crashed. So a lot of negative news in Tesla this week, driving that stock down almost 12% for the week on Tesla. As you see, when it broke that 250 spot, it's been headed down. Now, it does have $200 coming up ahead. If that should break, we could see, a 180, 175 handle on this stock. So a lot of folks are going to be watching this 200 spot for Tesla. What else do we have down this week for the larger names? XLNX was down 10% for the week this week. Over in the smaller stocks for the week that were down, you had INSY. This stock bankruptcy concerns here on INSY dropping 71% for the week. SUNW came out with their earnings, Sun Power. This stock dropping 45% for the week. TAIT taking a hit this week, down 43% on that name. ROAN dropping this week, down 43%. IMGN also dropping 37% for the week on that name. We also had MYOV dropping down 30% on this name. They had a phase 3 conference. They didn't like what they heard on that conference, so this stock dropping 30% for the week. Teva also moving down this week. Take a look at Teva. This stock dropping on the price fixing lawsuit concerns here, down another 19% for Teva. We had SLDB. This stock also falling. They did an offering, down 34% on this health name here. And then we had ADMA also doing an offering, dropping 19% for the week on ADMA. And that's some of your worst stocks for the week. As far as macroeconomic information coming out for the week that may move the markets, we do get the FOMC minutes coming up on Wednesday, the 22nd at 2 p.m. That could be market moving. As you can see, we get Fed speak throughout the week. By the way, going into next week, we have Memorial Day, which is coming up on Monday, the following week. So things could probably slow down around Thursday, Friday next week. Durable goods coming out Friday. So we have a full week this week, and then the week after this one, we go into Memorial Day. So that could slow the volumes down Thursday and Friday. But durable goods will be coming out on Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That pretty straightforward as far as economic, except for the FOMC and the durable goods. Those two will be closely watched. Let's see, as far as the economic calendar, like we said, a lot of Fed speak coming up. Retail earnings, I'll show you those in a moment. European elections on May 23rd will be taking place. The European Union citizens go to polls starting on May 23rd to elect lawmakers to the EU Parliament. So that's going to be happening on May 23rd, not shown here on the trade exchange calendar. As far as the earnings for the week, next week, this courtesy of Earnings Whisper, IGT. A lot of retail stocks will be reporting this week. We get Home Depot on Tuesday, J.C. Penney, Kohl's, AutoZone, TJX, Urban Outfitters here, Nordstrom, Home Builder, Toll Brothers, TOL, symbol there, Pure Storage, PSTG, Target, Lowe's. Let's see, we also have ADI, Analog Devices, will be reporting Wednesday before the open. Then we go Thursday, we get Best Buy reporting, Medtronics, Hormel, BJ's Wholesalers will be reporting. Thursday after the bell in the software space, you get Splunk, SPLK, Autodesk, Intuit, INTU. We get Hewlett Packard, we get Deckers, Ross Stores, ROST, symbol there. Foot Locker on Friday, FL, the symbol there. Buckle, BKE, the symbol there for Friday. So a lot of retail stocks will be reporting earnings. Once again, this courtesy from Earnings Whisper. Over in the IPO space for the week that was, we had Beyond Meat. They came out and moved up 35% last week. Beyond Meat, very strong week for that one. We also had AVDR, another recent IPO, moving up 21% for the week. We had Twist, TWST, in the biotech space, bouncing this week. This IPO was up 16%. Zoom, technology, Zoom Video, this stock moving up 13% in the IPO space. ZLK, the Starbucks of China, not faring so well for their IPO. It did close above their IPO price of, I believe it was $17 to $18, so it closed above the range. But as you can see, it popped up here to 26 and slowly bled off for the day. This is supposed to be a competitor to Starbucks in China. They have about 2,000 locations there in China, but holding above their range on the IPO, but not a great start, popping up to 26. So if you bought this up at 26, you're not feeling so great. Uber, let's check that one out for the week. Up fractionally for the week on Uber. And then in the IPO space, Lyft still battling that $55 area. INSY getting hit, like we said, on that 70% drop. YCBD down 9% for the week. Tilray came out with earnings last week. That stock dropped 8%. CGC also down 6% for the week. To the upside in the cannabis space, we had PYX moving up this week, up 9% on that name. We also had ACB climbing this week, up about 4% for the week on this Aurora Cannabis. YGYI was up this week, stock moving up in the cannabis space about 3%. ARNA was up 4% for the week on that name. XXII climbing this week about 5%. VFF bouncing back after Citron went after that one. This stock bouncing back about 6% in the cannabis space. So in closing out the video, we'll be out with another video later on with stocks to watch that I'll be watching for Monday.